2, 1, go!
Sitting comfortably, then we'll begin.
Drop the needle!
Hey, okay. I had to reset it in OBS. For some reason, it just lost it. I think everybody can hear us now.
Are you back?
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Just lost it, I think. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, we're on. We're on now. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, just one of those things. OBS lost the goddamn audio feed, but yeah, so we're literally just watching or Discord to see if Starsky can make it today. It's there's a pretty good chance of it, and he should be really connected and properly back up anytime, so that'll be really good. So yeah, again, we got Charlie Welch, we got Claire Bear, Fallacy Dave, and myself, and we're going to bring you some headlines right away, and I think Claire is going to start us off with the first one.
Oh, okay, here we go. Yes. So this article is from the Globe in the Mail. Moldova to temporarily ban 6 TV channels over broadcasts about the Ukraine war. The small ex-Soviet state of Moldova will temporarily ban 6 television channels for airing incorrect information about the country and Russia's war in Ukraine, authorities said on Friday. The channels, some of which broadcast in Moldovan and some in Russian, are closely tied to politician and business Jan Shor, who fled in 2019 after the election of pro-Western President Masandu Shor in exile in Israel. He has backed protests in Chisinau. What? Dave, I have no idea how to say that. Chisinau, demanding that Sandu's government resign. My apologies. I have no idea how to say that. The ban will start on December 19th and last for the duration of a state of emergency that Moldova declared after Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February. The channels will lose their licenses for disseminating incorrect information when covering events in Moldova in the war in Ukraine. A special commission overseeing the state of emergency said in a statement. It did not give details. The 6 channels include some of the most popular in Moldova. Shaw owns 3 of them. Another 2 belong to his close associates, while the 6th sympathizes with him. Moldova must be protected from propaganda and lies, the Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Spinu wrote on his Telegram channel. The 6 channels, he said, had covered Moldova and the war in a biased and manipulative manner. Moldova has repeatedly condemned the invasion. Bilateral ties are also trained by the presence of Russian peacekeeping troops in Moldova's breakaway Transnistria region. TV6, one of the channels owned by Shaw, said the commission's arguments were unfounded and false. The channel has never received any comments about its coverage of events related to the war. The commission's decision is illegal. This is an unprecedented attack on freedom of speech, it said in a statement. Wow. Moldova's initial 60-day state of emergency has been renewed several times and is due to expire in February 2023.
The remark, the channel never received any comments about its coverage. That's like saying Fox never gets any, people bitching about predominantly Republican coverage or something. Like, come on, you know.
It's crazy. They're all tied together too. It does look very sus, actually.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Very much. I wouldn't doubt there's some money transpiring and behind the scenes to make sure and everything too. You know how this kind of thing goes, right? Exactly.
Well, it's censorship, but that happens throughout this war everywhere over there. It's very difficult to get we're blessed to get the information that we do.
Yeah. The one I wanted to get into right now is it's the third on our list there. Ukraine war. Russia could launch more heavy strikes, Zelensky warns. That face kind of says it all, doesn't it? Russia has enough missiles to carry out yet more heavy strikes against Ukraine, President Zelensky has said, following a wave of Russian attacks. This is very recent news, too. Engineers are continuing to work to restore electricity after Friday's massive strikes using 76 missiles. The attacks have targeted civilian infrastructure as temperatures drop below zero in many regions. Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, has been consulting his military commanders about the future of the war. The Kremlin says Mr. Putin spent the whole of Friday at the headquarters of Russia's military operation. He would like to hear your suggestions on our immediate and midterm actions. It's just admitting that he has no idea what the fuck to do anymore because he's a moron. The defense minister and chief of general staff were also at the meeting. Kyiv has accused Moscow of using winter as a weapon by targeting essential facilities as temperatures drop. But Russia's President Putin, earlier this month vowed to continue to batter the infrastructure, saying criticism of Russian strikes would not interfere with the combat missions. I'll pause right there because it's already kind of, nasty. But there was 76 missiles yesterday and, it totally rained down on them. And as I understand it, I think we have an article coming up on it, though, that there's some really good aerial defense stuff heading to Ukraine right now from the United States in a couple places. I really hope that is accurate and true. Hey, awesome. We've got Commander Lance McMillan just jumped in as well, and that's really cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Hello?
Yeah, you're muted down in the bottom of meets there, Commander. Everybody who joins new is muted right off the bat. It's a really handy feature.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. But so let me get back to this here and we'll give oh, there he is, I think. Maybe. Oh. Yeah, okay. I'll continue on this article. There's just a little bit of it left here, and we'll give Commander a second. So parts of the Ukrainian capital remained without power and heating on Saturday, today. The city's mayor, Klitschko? I've never got that right. I really have a hard time getting my tongue around some of these. But water supplies have now been fully restored. Dave?
Yeah, Klitschko. Just sort of like say the Vladimir bit silently.
Klitschko. Yeah. I skipped some of them just to get to the ones I want to get. Yeah, I think we got Lance now. Commander McMillan, are you there? Oh, almost. He's got to sort out his audio from us, I think. But at least they got their water supplies running. Oh, there we go. Do you hear us?
Yeah, finally.
Hey, we got Commander McMillan.
I had to get the technical support.
So somebody younger than you, right?
Yeah, you think?
Good to have you. How's things your way?
Oh, I've had better lifetimes.
Yeah, no doubt, right? We were just starting to cover the missile barrage yesterday in Ukraine from Putler and the gang there. Power has been restored in the country's second city of Kharkiv, authorities said, after it was left without electricity for hours following Friday's wave of strikes that targeted energy stations across the country. Local officials said as many as 9 power facilities were hit as Russian forces fired 76 missiles and carried out drone attacks as well. Kharkiv's mayor said the city suffered colossal damage. One resident, Anastasia, told the BBC the strikes began on Friday morning. In a matter of minutes, the lights started blinking, the mother of a 2-month-old child said. Just 10 seconds later, we were out of power. Everything just went still, and that's it. An intensive care nurse in Kharkiv called Vlad told the BBC that staff at the hospital continued to work during the strikes in the city because they're just used to it now. Wow. There's a picture to show.
Yeah.
The Commander, you're somebody that's quite knowledgeable about aspects of war in this kind of matter. So in your more expert than mine in every sense of the word opinion, how rough on Ukraine were the strikes yesterday, and how long do you think and how much effort's it going to take to get the infrastructure back to even a somewhat usable level?
Repairs depend chiefly on availability of spare parts. And that's one of the issues that they're facing right now, is that since this has been going on for close to a month, longer if you count the smaller strikes, since the beginning of the whole campaign, they're probably running out of spare parts. And complicating that is, I suspect many of the systems they're using are systems that were put in place back in the Soviet era. So, factory production of spare parts probably doesn't exist very much.
Right. It'd be like trying to put Saturn V's back into production. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So, they can fabricate stuff and get it into place, but it's tough. I suspect that's kind of one of the non-military items that's high on Zelensky's list, is getting stuff to replace the damaged systems to be able to put the power grid back into play. Complicating that, of course, is the fact that the Russians are going to keep doing this for as long as they have ordnance to throw. And in large part, that's because they've become impotent on the actual battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah, they're showing that quite well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, when you have no other weapon to be able to employ than terror bombing, that's what you do. It's, you know, the Germans in 1940 with the Battle of Britain. We don't have a fleet to actually invade Britain, so all we can do is just bomb the crap out of the cities and hope that the population will put pressure on the government to give in. And I think that's kind of where we're playing right now. Now, of course, the West is sending them lots of air defense ordnance. We recently talked about us giving them Patriot missiles and Hawk missiles. And it's all a giant layered defense. I know they're trying to acquire the Israeli Iron Dome system for the same reason. One of the things you'll notice is that these Russian barrages tend to occur every 2 to 4 days. Part of that is because they're bringing the ordnance up from rear area depots to be able to put them in place to launch stuff, because they've learned from hard experience that stockpiling it near the launchers tends to result in drone strikes that make them all go boom.
Hard lesson to
the
learn.
Russians do learn. You just have to slap them pretty hard to get them to figure it out.
Yeah, when you kill enough of them, they figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, they're trying to get those systems in place. The other part is why the Russians are doing it in these massive 100+ missile barrages is because it's one way of overwhelming the Ukrainian air defenses. Because if you put enough targets into the air, they're not going to hit everything. But if you only fire, 2 or 3, then you can target each inbound with multiple air defense missiles to take it out.
Right. Yeah, makes sense, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a little bit more in this article I wanted to bring up here. Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk warned Thursday that more attacks on power facilities in Ukraine could lead to further serious deterioration in the humanitarian situation and spark more displacement. I'm angry, said Yeltsvita. The Russians, are destroying our lives. We are used to it now. The most important thing is that Russia isn't here. When it's daytime, it's still okay. It's tolerable, and I can manage the situation, she goes on to say. But when it's dark outside, this is when my problems begin, because I need to see clearly, to measure baby formula, to also attend to the baby. And it's very stressful. And of course, just the effect that we are out of power creates a lot of tension and a lot of stress. So we are just trying to survive through the night. And when the day breaks, it gets a bit better. That's not comforting to hear in any way. No, that's awful.
I haven't looked, but I would not be surprised if the strikes are being conducted specifically to take advantage of that. So they launch in the later evening or something to
that
make the damage more profound impact on the Ukrainian people.
Yeah, similar to like the story in what was it? Was it in Japan with opium and the British, and the guy did the drums all night so nobody could sleep, and they finally gave themselves up? Story I heard in history, but that kind of thing works. Drive people crazy.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Don't like to hear it though. Just looking to see where we should go next, because we do have a few here. Well, Claire, should we go to the lighthearted one?
Do you want to? Okay, we can do that one. That first one. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, we might as well. Okay, because it is it's kind of depressing to think of them in the dark and it's so cold. So, from the Independent, we get the headline. UK village names Putin Bellend of the Year and unveils a penis-headed statue. Villagers and passers-by were offered eggs to throw at the penis-headed Putin. This came out a day ago. Vladimir Putin has been hailed Bellend of the Year by a group of English villagers who marked his endowing by erecting a golden penis-head statue of the Russian president. The effigy, put up in protest against Moscow's 9-month invasion of Ukraine, appeared on Thursday morning alongside a street sign in the center of the Worcestershire villager. Eggs were provided to villagers and passers-by, which could be thrown at the likeness of the Russian president. The organizer of the protest, who wished to remain anonymous, told the PA news agency, "I needed to award somebody with the Bellend of the Year award, and I thought there was one person who was universally been a Bellend this year, and that's Vladimir Putin." You could just throw eggs at the statue, which people did so willingly and quite happily. Can you see this? You got the picture up of this thing?
Here, I'm about to scroll it up. Okay, here it comes.
Amazing.
Oh my!
Oh hail!
Oh my God! They elongated his head in part. Oh my God! They
Like a turban.
The only thing that would have made it better is if they built it of dung.
Oh, true. If it was a little browner instead of gold, yes.
It's big enough news that I bet Putler has seen this. Imagine that.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
According to the article, it's been tweeted and it's been Instagrammed. So I would imagine somebody got it to him. Would you want to be the person that brings this to him? It shows him it's out there. I wouldn't. Like, can you imagine? Oh my God.
we got to give Putler the golden cock here.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same.
Just had to be done. Oh, we're stuck in a loop. Oh God, this happened yesterday. Remember? Hold on.
But it does deserve it.
There.
If anybody deserves a loop of that, it would be him. But it goes on with these quotes from people are hysterical. It's been very well received. One person said, "I thought it was my boss for a second." The coordinator said they plan to create and sell miniatures of the statue to raise money for a charity supporting Ukraine refugees. Yes, they should. I've seen over the course of the year the devastation that has happened in Ukraine and that so many lives that have been displaced as a result of the war, they said. And then it's showing us that it's been on Twitter. It's been everywhere with these things. So I thought I really want to help out and I want to do my bit and I want to try and raise some money to help those individuals. The organizers said they want to stay anonymous to keep the mystique around the statue, with a further explanation about how it came to be in the village just outside Birmingham to be revealed in the coming days. Describing how the artwork was made, they said, "I don't know what the material is, but I gave to a couple of artists and they cut it out over 2 or 3 weeks." What does it look like? Oh, I don't know what it's made out of. Then we painted it and made a plinth, which obviously had the sign Bellend of the Year, just to make sure there was absolutely no way to deny what he actually was.
Yeah, but to make it obvious of what it's supposed to be, shouldn't he be like bare-chested riding on a polar bear or something?
Yeah, something like that. True. Yeah, true. Yeah.
That's
Right
funny.
now, it just it's a stand-in for any dictator or any dick.
Oh, that's good. Oh boy. This message is pretty simple, I'd say. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Just last month, a nude effigy of Mr. Putin, perched on top of an ornate golden toilet, was put up for auction by a group of Czech activists who plan to use the proceeds from the sale to buy and send a combat drone to Ukraine forces. Oh, I missed that one.
Well, this is a perfect segue because Janine, the ultra moderator and curating Starsky's merch store and whatnot, has a fundraiser thing going. So this is the perfect time to shill it out. There's a link. Streamlabs bot should be shilling out the link there as well. And they're raising funds for a Mavic 3 fly more copter drone thingamabobber. And instead of just going for donations, they're doing a lucky draw. So each entry is $15. The more you donate, the better your chances. And the draw is going to be for a one-of-a-kind Starsky pillow from the merch store, a special one-off. So PayPal donations go to Janine Terblanche at gmail.com. I am going to make sure we get this in the chat right now. Let's see here. Entry for Starsky giveaway.
Awesome.
To get a drone. And there you go. If I can, get that spelt right. There we go. Yeah, I did it. And I will copy that and get it ready to paste in a few more times as well. So great thing, helping to get a drone, more dead orcs. So how could that be a bad thing, right? Everybody get over there and slap a few in. Let's get this
Absolutely. That sounds cool. I'm stunned by that other statue, though. That's really disturbing me.
Yeah.
I think it's going to start a trend.
I think so. Is that it? Oh, yes, it does say parodying a monarch holding an orb and a scepter. The Russian leader was seen to be gripping a gilded toilet brush and a miniature washing machine, pouring with what appeared to be fake blood. The starting price was set at 10,000 pounds or 8,600. Okay, this auction will close on December 20th. Okay, I hope somebody gets that and puts it out.
Make it an NFT, it'd sell a lot better.
That's Trump.
Oh my God. Can you believe they sold? Oh God, don't even get me. They sold out. I can't believe it.
Well, of course they did.
Yeah,
It's a money laundering scheme.
Totally, right? What a joke.
Some deep pockets oligarch said, "Oh yeah, I'll buy 10,000 of them," and off you go.
You ripped them off of small clothing websites. They're all Photoshop images from other people.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit incoming, although I doubt any people are.
Yeah, God.
My gosh. Yeah, you know what? The amount. What are we up to? 24 lawsuits now. Well, some of them just got kicked, but these lawsuits with him are unbelievable.
Oh,
There's one, to end it with one good quote here. When asked about the possibility of a New Year's ceasefire, Ukrainian Brigadier General Ulsky Gromov told a news briefing there will be a total ceasefire only when not a single occupier remains on our land.
Slava Ukraini. Absolutely.
There you go.
Couldn't miss that quote. Good call.
No, that's a good way to end that article. That was humorous. Humorous. Yeah. Well, not that the war is humorous, but that man is ridiculous. That man is definitely.
There's another good one here I'd like to bring up. I will. Here we go. I don't know if Dave, do you want to jump in and take this one? I'll just drop the link in the green room there if anybody wants to, or Charlie there. This is a good one. This is a really good one. The title is Ukrainian Army issues instructional video telling Russians how to surrender to a drone.
Come on, gentlemen.
Oh, who wants to take it? Anybody? No, I'm reading it then. You want it, Claire?
I'm on it.
Yep. Oh, yeah,
okay.
Charlie's going to read it. Right, Charlie? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't find it.
But Charlie, you having a heart attack first? You okay over there?
No, I'm just waiting for it to load.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. We'll talk to us. Just tell us to shut up when you're ready.
Okay.
That's all right. You're right. I'll start some beef with Claire. Don't worry about it. So anyway, Claire.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave. I'm ready.
Yeah, I was only going to say, you're clearly South African. You know how I know that?
How do you know
it's
that?
Because you properly pronounced Worcestershire.
This is true. That's right.
No American knows how. Worcestershire.
I'm not really.
Die.
I'm not really American. Now the thing is up. You just orked me. You outed me as an orc. Oh my god. Oh, boy, you're so right, Dave. Okay, I'm done. Go on, Charlie.
Okay. On to the. This one sounds kind of funny. Ukraine's army issued an instruction video on Monday with a step-by-step guide for Russian soldiers on how to surrender to one of its drones. The video comes as part of Ukraine's I Want to Live project, a hotline that encourages Russians who are reluctant to fight in Ukraine to surrender.
Love it.
Yeah, the video, which is narrated in Russian, of course, shows 3 men in uniform and white armbands in a trench within a snowy landscape. From there, they are led to Ukrainian captivity by a small red quadcopter. This footage suggests that the role of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, commonly known as drones, on the Ukrainian battlefield is rapidly expanding, even to the sensitive area of surrender. Accompanying video, if you wanted to show it, surrendering soldiers are instructed to contact the I Want to Live hotline to arrange the time and place of the meeting ahead of time. Once verified, go to the place at the exact time indicated, the video says. This is like Uber Surrender Eats or something.
I want to live hotline? Like, I want to live hotline. Like, seriously?
Given the short flight time of a drone, the video notes, the accuracy and timeliness of arrival is critical. Once in place, soldiers are told to wait for the drone to appear or for further instructions. Seeing the drone in the field of view, make eye contact with it, the video instructs. Soldiers should then raise their arms and signal they're ready to follow. I can't see this. After that, the drone will move up and down a few meters before heading off at walking pace in the direction of the nearest representative of Ukraine's army, it says. The video also warns that the drone's battery may run low, in which case it will head back to base and the soldiers should stay put and wait a fresh one. That one, too, should be met with eye contact and arms raised, it says. Is this real? The video shows the three uniformed men finally meeting with Ukrainian soldiers with arms raised, whereupon they lie face down on the ground in order to be searched. Russian soldiers, keep this instruction for yourself, the video advises. Distribute it among your colleagues and acquaintances and save more lives. I Want to Live project was launched in September, just before Putin announced the partial mobilization of reservists. An unpopular move that called up an estimated 300,000 Russians not in active service to join the war in Ukraine. Ukraine claims the service has received thousands of inquiries from Russians. Insider was unable to verify the number. And finally, in an earlier interview with the Kiev Post, the project spokesperson Vitaly Matvienko explained that Russians can even contact the hotline preemptively to register an intention to surrender ahead of being physically sent to Ukraine. This really is Uber Surrenders. The project that those who surrender will be greeted under the terms of the Geneva Convention, which guarantees the safety of non-combatants. In late November, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense shared drone footage showing a man in a Russian soldier's uniform rocking with arms raised. An example, it said, of a drone mediating a surrender. And in November, Russia's Minister of Defense said that it had also used drones to transmit text message enticing Ukrainians to surrender, state news agency TASS reported, though it is unclear how successful the initiative has been.
Oh, I bet it was just, met with surrounding gunfire. I mean, should we play this video? We got to play this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before you do that, let me interject one thing. This is actually serious. Even if it doesn't result in surrenders, it's a major eroding of Russian morale.
Totally.
They think their buddies may be doing this. So this is going to have a profound impact potentially on the battlefield. We already know Russian morale is in the toilet. This is just going to flush it.
Yeah, this will be the human domino effect because once you think a few have, it's so much easier to consider for yourself then, correct?
Yeah, because you read any reports, historical accounts of people in the fighting, in the front lines, and the whole thing is about, I stayed there, A, because I wanted to protect my buddies, and B, because I knew my buddies were going to do their damnedest to protect me. When you have something like this, start making the rounds surreptitiously, it erodes that confidence, that band of brother camaraderie thing.
I wasn't totally thinking like that, but absolutely, now that it's been brought up, you can really see that this could be a seriously effective weapon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's.
Napoleon once said that morale is 3 times more important than actual numbers on the field. If you can break your enemy's morale, you've won the battle.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter how many men, how many guns he has, you'll still win if he decided he has no chance.
Well said. Absolutely. Let's let this play and see how it is. I think audio wise, there's probably not going to be a lot for us, but let's see what happens here. I'm not really sure.
Инструкция, по которой российские военные могут безопасно сдаться в плен украинскому квадрокоптеру. Дроны решили применить, чтобы сделать процесс взятия в плен более безопасным. Если вы желаете добровольно сдаться в плен ВСУ, предварительно свяжитесь с проектом «Хочу жить», который даст инструкции и при необходимости сообщит координаты отправной точки. Получив верификацию, отправляйтесь на место в точно указанное время. Следует помнить, что в данном случае точность и своевременность прибытия критически важна, учитывая ограниченное время полета квадрокоптера. При возможности дополнительно уведомите представителей ВСУ о прибытии на место и дождитесь дальнейших инструкций или ожидайте появления квадрокоптера в зоне видимости. Увидев в зоне видимости квадрокоптер, необходимо установить с ним визуальный контакт. Наблюдая за дроном, поднимите обе руки в стороны и вверх, таким образом сообщая о готовности выполнять дальнейшие команды. Когда контакт установлен, дрон совершит маневр, поднявшись и опустившись на несколько метров вниз и вверх. После этого коптер обозначит вектор движения. Плавно снизившись и плавно набрав высоту в заданном направлении, оставаясь на постоянном визуальном контакте с пленным. Пленный должен следовать за дроном, который со скоростью человеческой ходьбы будет лететь в точку встречи с представителями ВСУ. В случае критического уровня заряда батареи, дрон может прекратить сопровождение и вернуться на базу. В таком случае военнопленному необходимо оставаться на месте или ожидать в укрытии следующего дрона, сохраняя в зоне видимости точку последнего визуального контакта с предыдущим квадрокоптером. Через некоторое время на эту точку прилетит дублирующий дрон, с которым также необходимо установить визуальный контакт по вышеописанному алгоритму и продолжить движение. Российские солдаты, сохраните себе эту инструкцию, распространите ее среди ваших сослуживцев и знакомых. Сохраните больше жизней.
Just to clarify something, the white armbands that you see on those Russian soldiers, that's not the white flag of surrender. That's just their identifier. You see Ukrainian troops either with yellow or blue armbands like that. This is just the Russian version of that.
Good clarification. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Could we listen to that again? But could somebody just read out the translation that's on the bottom of the screen? Was anyone else reading that? It was coming up with, it was really trying to translate. Or I don't know if it translates on the Shills screen, but it's like the problem is that softly and we're so pretty, very sprank them.
I know.
Had to read Catherine Dust. Like
I thought it was just Dave. I had the closed captioning up too.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. They could not translate it at all.
It was really struggling.
No, I don't think it showed on our stream. I don't think it showed. Dick doesn't have closed captioning up there. Thank God. Because that was
I got it. Stream. I got it up. I got it up to the point now where it's easy for everybody to see it.
It's pretty silly. It's like they're so pretty, Dave.
There's an experimental translate in Ukrainian coming out of Google these days right now because a lot of, and from what I hear, it's horrific. I didn't even bother because, it's bad.
Yeah. Well, visually, it tells the story anyway, with much better.
Yeah. But again, with what Commander McMillan was saying there, the production of the video and the way it's shot and put together completely leads to what he was saying about this is very much an attack on morality. Like it was almost done in docudrama style,
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Great tactics. You got to love the Ukrainians,
I'm just picturing the drone pilot warm in a room laughing, leading these people. Come on.
No, the drone pilot's the guy you see there. He's in the snow too. Yeah, that's the drone operator there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not so warm then. My bad.
Yeah, this is not Area 51 outside Nevada somewhere.
Or is it?
The first time I saw drones, I never conceived of this kind of usage. To me, I was, just people snooping in windows and trying to drop drugs into prisons.
Well, I mean, there's also different sizes of drones. These are just standard little ones that could be used for like conducting local reconnaissance or for dropping a single hand grenade sized piece of ordnance. We're talking about selling the Ukrainians or giving them the Reaper drone, which is that monstrosity. It's huge.
Yes.
It's like a small airplane, and that'll stay up there for 24, 36 hours. And you just wait for the target to appear and say, "Hi, have a Hellfire missile." Ha ha.
Yeah. Yeah. Ha ha. Wow.
And that's what we've been doing in, Afghanistan and Iraq and Yemen and Oman and such.
We have a shout out to do here. Ali brought this one up. Good call indeed. YouTube channel, Ukraine TBIC. I'm not sure what that works out to be. He's a UA volunteer combat medic, Ukrainian army, and he's raising funds all the time for medical supplies and getting generators and hospital supplies and whatnot. So this person's doing some really good work. It's at Ukraine_TBIC is the new YouTube handle. But to make it easy, because not everybody's doing that yet, we're just going to drop his link in the chat here as well. But definitely somebody that's totally worth your attention and a sub. So there we go. There's a link for you. Good shout out. I like that very much. I have a couple of cool things to show. Samantha Williams, that's always a big, huge supporter of everything Ukraine that's going on these days, has been working up some artwork that's all centered around Ukraine. So here, let me show you a couple pictures just because everybody might like this. This was one she did first with Bogdan and Max. She got a cool style, I like that. And this is nice. Like proper, painted and everything. And then she did this one, which I think is really cool. There's some good symbolism going there. I'm not much of an art critic, so you wouldn't want my interpretations. That's for sure. And we've got Saint this Javelin. One, which is really cool. Sorry?
St. Javelin. That's what the previous one was.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Okay, and let me go back. This one was really cool too. I would need translation help in a very, very big way. And we have one last one here, which is really cool too. I like that very much. So yeah, super talent there, Sam. Awesome stuff. Loving it. And the Streamlabs bot will be giving out Max and Bogdan's PayPals for direct donations as well. The whole show, you'll see it come up lots. Don't be shy. All good.
Yeah, just to reiterate, a couple people in the chat asking about Starsky. He will be back. He's setting up his super internet as we speak.
Yeah, we might, we could be hearing from him anytime. We have no idea when it's going to kick in. We're just hoping, sooner rather than later. There was an article here I wanted to bring up, especially since we got Commander McMillan here. Ukraine air defenses are countering the Russian barrage, but missiles are still hitting the energy grid. That's an ugly picture there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy.
Yeah, the numbers that have been thrown around, it sounds like Ukrainian air defenses are taking out about 80% of the inbounds. But that's one of the reasons, as I mentioned earlier, that they're doing these strikes every 2 to 4 days, is they want to throw massive volleys so some of them get through.
Right.
And, doubtless they've got multiple warheads targeted at the same target just to make sure at least one of them will get through on critical ones.
Yeah, that would make sense too, right? Because you know, yeah, right, the same line, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So here, let me scroll down here. Russia launched, this is yesterday, right? Another ferocious barrage of missiles at Ukraine, again pummeling critical infrastructure. At least 3 people were killed and more than a dozen injured when a residential building was hit in Kyiv. I can never get that right. One of the 7 cities targeted in the attack. So 7 cities, including Kharkiv and Sumy in the northeast. Poltava, Dnipro, and Kyiv, the capital, reported power outages after the strikes, even though Ukrainian officials said that their bolstered air defenses has succeeded in intercepting and destroying 60 of the 76 missiles. But 16 missiles can do a lot of goddamn damage. Right. It was not possible for the Washington Post to independently verify the Ukrainian claims, but Kyiv's Western supporters have been rushing to send additional air defense systems to the country since Russia began its bombing campaign against infrastructure in early October. Ukraine's Air Force said in a statement that Friday's strikes were a massive attack on critical infrastructure facilities and fuel. The missiles were launched from ships and aircraft in the Caspian, Azov and Black Seas, as well as from areas farther inside mainland Russia. Almost fucked that right up. And Vladimir Putin has openly acknowledged Russia's efforts to destroy civilian infrastructure, accusing Kyiv and the West of provoking the attacks, although it was Russia that initiated a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Western leaders have said the attack could be a war crime because they have no military purpose. And we did touch on this before. Commander, we were talking about this last week. The way the infrastructure, there are Geneva Conventions requirements to, you should have to be going at them only when they're truly military targets. And I mean, in your mind, I'm sure I'm right in saying it's obvious Russia's not complying.
Well, ...
It's tough though, isn't it? Because there's a lot of
it's
little
very much a
wording.
gray zone, and I'll explain
Yeah.
why. One of the reasons is that the strategic mobility of Ukraine to deploy and redeploy its forces from one threatened sector on the front to another relies heavily on the rail system. The vast bulk of the Russian, Ukrainian, any of the ex-USSR rail system is electric. So if you take out the power generations, it means that the trains don't run, which means it makes it that much harder for your opponent to move his forces around.
Right.
So arguably, it has strategic value. And this is one of the problems with this section of the Geneva Convention, is that it's a very nebulous gray area. You can make claims to justify just about anything you want. Now, I would contend that you are correct, that the vast bulk of the reason they're doing these attacks is to try to compel the Ukrainian people to put pressure on their government to go to the negotiating table and make concessions, because so far Zelensky and all the senior politicians in the Ukrainian government have basically been saying the only way this fight ends is when you guys completely evacuate our country. That includes the entire Donbas region, the Crimea, etc. And from Putler's standpoint, he can't do that. He has to have some way to stand on, the proverbial deck of that aircraft carrier with the big mission accomplished banner flying to say, yeah, we may have lost a couple 100,000 people, but by God, we got something valuable out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that it's BS. Even his people know it's BS, but he has to have that to avoid, ending up becoming a permanent underground mushroom farmer.
I love that ending. Claire, did you want to grab that chat?
Yes. Okay. From Jean-Marc Pagan Owl. The TBIC dude is a Canadian International Legion interviewed by Starsky.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
When I was doing the shout out in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's something familiar here, but I'm not recognizing the channel. And then when I saw that super chat, I was like, oh, that's why it was familiar, because I caught that on Starsky's channel.
Well, thank you very much, Gene.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. So let me see here. There was now here's something that I think we'll have Commander's input on as well, I'm sure. Al Jazeera, here comes a comment. Russia's ability to mount Kyiv offensive being questioned by analysts. So I'll get a brief in and then we'll take it from here. Despite the Ukrainian capital suffering one of the largest missile attacks since the beginning of the Russian invasion in February, analysts doubt that Moscow is capable of mounting a new ground offensive against Kyiv early next year, as Russian forces remain ill-prepared and badly battered after the 10 months of warfare. And here, the second part is Ukrainian officials said on Friday that Kyiv withstood one of the biggest rocket attacks it has faced since Russia invaded, and the Ukrainian air defense shot down 37 of 40 missiles that hit the city's airspace. So, Commander, what do you think in regards to analysts starting to doubt Moscow can keep it up?
I think they're dead on target. One of the key things you need to understand is that not only have they taken hideous casualties, they've also lost a significant portion of their combat equipment. The number of tanks, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles, artillery pieces, etc., that they have lost in the war thus far is mind-boggling. They do have reserves that they can draw on, but to try to put this in context, many of the vehicles that they're pulling out of reserve and trying to equip new units that they're putting together from all these reservists who are mobilized from the conscript group that's coming in for this time. Those pieces of equipment are old, like Soviet era old tanks, artillery pieces, etc. So they aren't anywhere near as capable as the stuff they lost. The crews that they're putting into those vehicles or manning those artillery pieces have only gone through a very small amount of very rushed training, because all the experienced professional soldiers that they had, they're gone. They died at the front or have been wounded or have said, I've had enough of this and left. So the idea that they're going to be able to mount a credible offensive with lower quality equipment, less trained troops, and perhaps most importantly, a lack of logistic support for this stuff is ridiculous. Because, give you an idea, the Russians are having to go to the North Koreans and buy old stocks of ammunition from them to give to their troops at the front, because they've burned through their own stocks of ammunition. And you know, and I know that anything that the North Koreans have,
Cutting edge,
probably hasn't been maintained since, the 1950s when the armistice went into effect.
Yeah.
Like a garage sale at Chernobyl.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea that they're going to somehow magically put together this new model army and come out Cromwell-esque and charge through the Ukrainian defenses is almost laughable. I mean, that's why we're seeing all these missile barrages, and they're burning through their inventory of missiles. So even that's getting worse and worse. I mean, it's getting to the point that for the Ukrainians, they have to be careful of what they're shooting at these inbound missiles, because it makes no sense whatsoever to fire for example, million Patriot missile to take out a $50,000 Iranian drone. You know, the math doesn't work out in your favor. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's been talk of, oh yeah, they're going to try to attack Kiev or Kyiv. I always use the old name. I'm sorry.
I do that a lot too.
Yeah, but they're going to try to attack Kyiv from out of Belarus again. Sure, they could try, but I don't see that happening because they just don't have the equipment to make it work. And at the same time, they've done a great job of equipping the Ukrainian army with the top end of their own gear because they keep abandoning it in the field. No, I'm serious. It's hilarious that you see some of the numbers of the Russians have sent limited numbers of their top end T-80 tanks into fight in Ukraine, supposedly. And Ukraine started this war with no T-80s in its inventory. They currently have enough to put together a full company of T-80 tanks, courtesy of the Russians just walking away from them in the mud. You know, so that's that many T-80s that the Russians aren't using, and suddenly the Ukrainians have better tanks than they had at the start. So the algorithm of how this is going to play out is pretty obviously not in their favor.
We should go to Dave because I think there was a good question to get to there if he's all set and ready.
Yes, I am. Titan Uranus, thanks for your question. Question for Commander Macmillan. Is it possible to quickly locate and bomb the locations from which the Russians are firing once a barrage begins?
That's an interesting one. So most of the missile systems they're using, I mean, many people think of when you say, oh yeah, they're firing missiles, they visualize ICBM silos that are fixed in the ground, and that's the only launch site. These aren't that. These are TELs, or transporter erector launchers. So they're mobile. They drive around. When they fire off a volley of these things, within 10, 15 minutes, they can easily have been put back together and they just drive away. So if the Ukrainians fire back at it, they have to do so in very, very rapid fashion, and they have to be prepared to do so. It's not something you can really do counter battery against these kind of missiles that rapidly. You have to be prepared for it. You need the right radars to be able to track that through. I suspect that once they get longer stay time drones, they can put them up and monitor likely areas that they would be launching from. And then if they have the right missiles for like a HIMARS system or whatever, they could fire those to take out the launchers. But I don't think they really have much capability to do it at present.
I saw a video of it, one of the ones that have been lent to Ukraine, and they have the little timer on the screen.
Yeah.
So you can see the moment they park up, they're setting up the machine. Is like, I don't know, 28 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got my numbers wrong, but then they say like first, second, third, then the missiles will come back and then they drive off.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 minutes or something. So you have to be really, really quick.
Oh yeah. Now, what you're probably talking about there is a more tactical battlefield system, not one of these quasi-strategic rockets that they're shooting at cities. But it's the same principle. The difference is that on the front, they actually have what are called counter battery radars, and they just monitor the sky, and when they see an inbound, it's plugged into an automatic computer system to artillery or their own rocket batteries, which will immediately lay down rounds. And you have pretty much 3 minutes to get set up, fire, loaded back up, and drive away, or else you're likely to get hit by a counter strike. So you have to act very, very quickly. The the larger missiles that they're using for these city strikes, they probably have a little more lag time, something in the vicinity of, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes. But the same principle applies. If you're going to shoot, you need to get the hell out of there quickly, or you're going to get hit. One of the things the Russians have been doing, you may have seen this in the news a couple weeks ago, where some of these big Russian bombers were being hit. What's really happening is those large bombers actually carry these kind of missiles, and they're launching from out over the Black Sea. So they fly out over the Black Sea and they fire into Ukraine from the south, as opposed to what you would normally think of firing from the east or north. And part of that is because it's harder for the Ukrainians to get warning that those things are inbound. It also makes it much harder for the Ukrainians to shoot back, because by the time they see the missiles inbound, the strike aircraft that had been carrying those missiles have turned around and are flying back deep into Russia somewhere. And you also have the ships that are doing kind of the same thing. Unfortunately for them, the Ukrainians don't really have much of a naval presence. If the Russians are stupid enough to venture close to the coast, they have some systems that'll strike, but it's the big complication in shooting at a ship is you need to be able to figure out where that ship is. And since the Ukrainians don't really have a significant maritime reconnaissance presence, that's really tough for them to do. That's why you remember when they took out the big flagship, the Moskva, early on. That's why that was so significant and hit, is because that thing carried, I believe, 20 large cruise missiles that could be used to, shell cities like they're doing.
Yeah, I barely remember that.
Yep.
Yeah. We as a Canadian, as somebody who's grown up here all the time, it's just quite a foreign idea to me to, think of missiles flying around. A little crazy.
Well, yeah, to be fair, it is in Europe as well after so much. There's a long period of peace.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Dave, did you want to take that next article we've got loaded up?
Oh, what's it called?
It's here. I've got the link here. It's in the green room a little bit up, so I'll just drop it down again. I just made it the most current one there. It's I wanted to get the commander's response to this, because it's about Putler going to his people to say, okay, what do you guys think we should do? I'm just not sure that's the best look.
CNBC, Putin sounds out military. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Awesome, sweet. So there's an article from CNBC. It's called "Putin Sounds Out Military Commanders on Ukraine," published Saturday, December 17th. Key points that have been thrown out there. President Vladimir Putler has sought proposals from the commanders of his armed forces on how they think Russia's military campaign in Ukraine should proceed. A series of defeats in 10 months of fighting. Have we been doing this 10 months?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. God. Made some friends though, right? A series of defeats in 10 months of fighting has forced Putler to call up reservists and generated rare public criticism from military bloggers and some allies. Putin presided at a meeting of around a dozen people at a circular table flanked by Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. I'm going to go for Shoigu. And Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov. I could sit here for an hour just pronouncing things. I want to get bored. Yeah.
So,
President, you crack on.
Well, Commander, it wouldn't it be more in line to your experience that meetings like this are not like public?
Well, yes. But this is not that kind of
What?
meeting. They are not actually discussing strategies. He is not soliciting input or opinions. I guarantee you 1000% this is a carefully scripted thing to show that everybody believes the great leader is flawless. All they're doing is they're going to say, oh yes, we the strategy you have given us, oh Putler, is unbeatable. Eventually we must triumph simply because you were so brilliant. It's an authoritarian approach to life. Now, behind closed doors, they may have a free exchange of ideas and thinking, but I doubt it. Part of the problem that you have is you have competing militaries going on the Russian side right now. So you have the regular Russian army, you have the private military corporations like Wagner Group, you have the Russian Ministry of the Interior Forces, and it's difficult for people in this country to understand what that is, but think of it as being a entirely separate army, kind of a Department of Homeland Security equivalent, except they're extremely heavily armed. They have their own tanks, armored personnel carriers, attack helicopters, everything like that. So you've got those three. Then you've got all these new private, or excuse me, the independent republics, the Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics. They have their own armies. And then you also have like the Chechen warlord, and there are other similar warlords who have kind of a personal bodyguard slant national guard from their semi-autonomous regions. So you've got 5 layers of different military structure going on, none of whom like the others, all of whom view the others as competitors, and most of whom will not follow the orders issued by anybody else. So you could have Russian 5-star general, Pyotr Bogovich say, we're going to launch an attack over here. And the Wagner Group boss says, no, we're not. Or you can go ahead, but I'm not going to support that attack because it doesn't make me look good. I'm only going to attack in my sector because I get paid for every inch of ground I take. And this has been going on since the very start. So if you are talking about one of these, meetings actually occurring, not the PR event that you saw in this thing, but an actual behind closed doors meeting, these guys are spending most of their time trying to discredit one another and not trying to formulate an actual strategy that could win the war for them. It's all about who comes out on top at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, and that's never going to be a productive strategy for anything, right?
You think?
you know.
But we've seen this before. I mean, you go back to like Nazi Germany, and you had the SS, you had the Luftwaffe, which had its own private ground army, you had the Wehrmacht. There's so many, and the authoritarian leaders do this because if everybody has their own army, nobody is going to stage a coup because you have no real clear idea what the other private armies are going to do when the coup goes off.
Right.
So it's really all about maintaining your internal security and nothing to do with external war.
Yeah. It's great to have an actual educated opinion on some of this stuff, isn't it, Claire?
Definitely is. He definitely.
Truly.
Are you suggesting that Starsky has not got an educated opinion?
No.
He's talking about you,
he's not
dude.
here.
Hardly, but he looks at this from a very different level.
That's true.
So he's a lieutenant. So
He's the feet. He's the feet.
Yeah, he's the guy who's actually been on the front lines and shot things. My background is through Staff and Command College, through the Naval War College. I'm looking at things from a much higher geopolitical level, and it's something he may not be as aware of. I'm not saying he's unaware of it, but the nuances involved.
It's a
And
very valuable opinion.
oh
I
yeah,
really
and so you
appreciate
get all these different levels, and you start to see a real picture emerging. If you're only confining yourself to one source, you're only seeing part of the actual picture.
There was a question here. I'm pretty sure it would be addressed to yourself for the most part there, Commander. Do you think there will be a coup in time?
I hate to say it, but I'm not sure.
His power is really cemented, isn't it?
Yeah, and as I was just saying, all of this is carefully constructed to ensure that there is no regime change. And if you look at Russian history, most change occurs not from the bottom up, but from the top down. So you get, back in the Tsar's times, the boyars would overthrow the Tsar, install some other pretender, and then, it was top down directing how change would be going. You don't see the average Ivan in the street saying, the hell with Putin, let's overthrow him and install an actual democratic government that looks out for our interests. It's just, and I hate to say it this way because it sounds so pejorative, but it's not in the Russian psyche to do that. They've been beaten over the head for the better part of a millennium of, you will obey the authority above you.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming close on time. I am parenting today, and as such, I do have a couple of things that we'll have to get to soon. So we should say, thoughts and wrap-ups for the day. I did want to get to one news story that just came into our desk, and I'm pretty sure everyone's going to want to hear this one. So Vladimir Putler has finally publicly admitted that he's addicted to enemas. He has one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one at night, and they are administered to him personally by none other than the current leader of Iran. I told you it would hurt. We'll bring you more news as it comes in.
This is from Babylon or The Onion? Like, where'd you get
I wrote that.
Well, somebody's definitely full of it.
Okay.
Lots of seepage, poor guy.
Yeah, it was from yesterday's headlines on the Friday show, but I had to use it again today because it was just a little bit appropriate, But we should
to put it in context. He does have medical conditions.
Yeah, that's where it came from, right? It's just it just had to be. But let's see, Claire, do you want to take us around for a little goodbyes from everybody?
Sure. Well, let's start with Charlie. How did you like today's show?
Really enjoyed it, and I can't say enough how appreciative we are of McMillan. That was just great. Just great.
Oh, yeah.
And I imagine Starsky will be back soon once he gets webbed up, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're looking at just literally the final connection of Starlink and stuff. And then he has a couple of responsibilities due to power. He's been in the bases and whatnot a lot, but I think we're really close to back to normal streaming.
Yep.
Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. And I'm glad you could join us today. How about you, Dave?
Lovely as ever to be here. I'm back after a few weeks of being away. Had a car crash, got over it. So, really good. It's good to be back, and it's wonderful to hear all sorts of lovely questions from our wonderful viewers.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you back. I'm glad you're okay.
Stop being sweet. We're going to get back to our
I
fighting
know
next
it's
week.
so against my nature. I know.
It's like, I'm so pleased for you to be here.
I am. Well, it's that mix of
uh,
intelligence and ridiculousness that I'm so fond of, Dave. It's just like nobody does it better.
It just feels uncomfortable. I think you're doing it now on purpose.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay, you're done. Mute. All right. So we're gonna go on over to Commander Lance McMillan. How did you find the show? We're so happy you were here.
It's fascinating. Different tone, so to speak, than what I usually do when I'm working with Nick Suter. But I think it was really an interesting thing to do. I enjoyed it. Thank you for allowing me to participate.
No,
we hope to see you lots more.
Yeah, I'll be happy to come and bore the pants off of your viewers anymore.
There you
And the
go.
more times you prefer to have me.
Yeah, it's nice to have the technical and the different outlooks on it. It really adds to everything that's going on over there. And it helps everyone understand everything that we're trying to put out with the readings of the articles and, of course, with Starsky's personal view of everything that's going on.
Sure.
So thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, back to you, Dave. Nope, not you, Dave. Sorry. Dick.
Well, here
Oh, wait,
we've got a chat that just came in, and then you can give your wrap ups then, Claire. Perfect timing.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is from Zong 1103. Always appreciative what you do. The show's good job as always. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. And I had a great time as also. Thank you. I've been off myself. As Dave said, it's been a little bit. But feeling much better. Can't wait. Enjoy this show very much and appreciate everybody's views, even Dave's.
And remember, fellow babies, you got to do what you can to support Ukraine. If it's throwing a couple of bucks in the hat, if it's sharing things out on social media, get in touch with your local government representatives and urge support. Make sure that you're doing as much as you can, because even just one phone call, one extra push can mean so much. I think we got to go to Claire one more time.
Yes, okay. From Crazy Cats 1, thank you. First donation for a Shills drone. Make it happen, Dick. We need a drone. Yes.
Good shout. Awesome. Okay. We're starting a new fund then. It's happening.
Starting a trend now too. It goes from Skids Crasher. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Skids Crasher.
Love you, Skits. Right on. And on that, I think we'll just wrap it up by saying thanks for joining us, everybody. Slava Ukraini. Take care out there, fellow babies. We'll see y'all soon.
Stay safe, Starsky.
Yep. Good night, all. See you soon.
Night.
It's over. Go home.